Welcome back from that. Well, we have all had a very interesting weekend, and in fact, yesterday was way more interesting, where we're talking about 585 million humanitarian scandal that's coming from the Ministry of Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation. The minister, Betta Edu, was earlier today invited by the EFCC for quizzing. That's not to mention that that's after the former minister of that same ministry was also invited, Farouk, Ajia Farouk. The NSIP, that's the National Social Investment Program, was also invited. So much has been going on. Is this president who didn't, unlike the former administration, who didn't come in the backdrop of fighting corruption, but is he subtly winning the corruption battle? A lot of people seem to have been giving him accolades and commending his suspension of the minister, especially of Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation after her suspension, knowing that she was a very strong ally. We remember very vividly during the election that she was all over with him, answering questions during campaigns. It was not expected. When we put together when we put beside that what the past administration would have done, a lot of people believe the past administration probably would not have paid any mind to the agitation and reactions by Nigerians. Well, to discuss all of this, in the studio is Barrister Nasir Dembo. He's a social commentator. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you. Good evening.
We're hearing opposition commend this president for his fight against corruption, in spite of not necessarily screaming about how he's going to fight corruption and all of that. But what's your thoughts? Is this something to celebrate just yet?
Sincerely, I must say the president has taken the best step for Nigeria. A minister in his cabinet was accused or is accused of financial embezzlement. She has been suspended. This is a clarion call for all ministers to know that President Tinubu is up and doing. He's there for Nigerians. He means well for Nigerians. Since he can remove one of his stooge or one of his minister, an executive council member in his minister for this allegation, it shows that any minister that is not ready to work for Nigeria, if he is there for his own personal gains, then that will not happen. He won't be allowed by Mr. President.
Right.
This is something to celebrate of joy.
Of course.
Of course, you see, she hasn't spent more than 6 months in the seat. But look at this allegation. It has come to the public glare. People have seen it. He has immediately sanctioned that she should be suspended. He has directed the FCC and whatever to come and do their investigations. So it is a welcome thing for Nigerians.
A lot of people have taken it. Are you surprised also that the ethnic narrative is rife, talking about this issue, in spite of that advocacy for the anti-corruption fight? Oh, make governance sane. Let's see the transparency. Now the president is doing that, and we're hearing people say, "Oh, is it because she's from the south and not the north or the west or the east? Is it because she's Christian and not Muslim or traditional?" All those very unfortunate sentiments are being brought into this. Are you surprised that Nigerians are pushing this narrative?
You see, one thing I will make Nigerians to note is this is a country that belongs to all of us. Whether you come from the south or you come from the north, whether you come from the south or you come from the north, it doesn't really matter. All we needed at this juncture, as we have Mr. President, is somebody that will come out and say, this is where we go, this is what we will do. Let's forget about the sentiments. If we are talking about sentiment because she's a Christian or because she comes from the south, then we will not get the kind of leadership we aspire to get. All I want Nigerians to think about is what Mr. President is doing. Has he done the right thing? Yes, he has done. So forget about whether she's a Muslim or she's a Christian. Forget about whether she comes from the north or from the south. There is an allegation levied against her. These allegations dwell on millions of naira. It is meant for Nigerians. It is not meant for her own private.
Not just Nigerians. Unfortunately, the vulnerable, those who are most affected
you can imagine.
especially the removal of fuel subsidy. Right.
Yes, meant for the vulnerable. So in as far as she has violated some laws or she has done something wrong contrary to her office, then she should be brought to book. I don't second to any tribal, any religion or whatever. Let us give full support to Mr. President. Where he goes wrong, let his advisors give him the necessary advice. Where he does good, let us applaud him and say, thank you, Mr. President.
Now, the president set up a panel, to properly investigate this. And people are still skeptical in spite of what the president has done, suspended her. Rumor has it, allegedly, her State House access tag was also withdrawn. Allegedly, some security attaches have been also recalled. Now, in spite of all of this, people are asking for a transparent probe. That's to say, there's still skepticism in there somewhere. Yes. So, is that something you call for? Is it too sensitive for that public probe, or would it be too embarrassing to the minister?
No, it's not embarrassing to the minister. She is a minister. Her employees, so to say, or her cronies, whatever, have been removed from her office. The tag accessibility to the president office has been collected have been collected. It doesn't mean that she is being denied entirely, but it's for the purpose of this investigation to continue. If presumably she has been left with the presidential tag that would give her access to Mr. President, we will not get possibly the investigationary procedure to be ripe, and maybe we won't get what we desire to get at the investigation level. So insofar as she has been, the tag had been collected, allegedly, so to say, if her supporting staff has been withdrawn from her, all other, whatever she's entitled to as a minister has been withdrawn from her, it doesn't mean anything. The investigation will continue. And I think the EFCC will have ample time and opportunity to investigate her thoroughly, without thinking that she has a link to see Mr. President or she has a link to see somebody else.
This is one too many stories when it comes to our civil service. How can we ensure that we have better, institutions that are properly managed? It's not a conduit pipe for these politicians. What can we do? I mean, this report or this expose was really welcome. But for that, we would not have known what was going on. However, moving forward, so that we do not see these stories after these monies have been probably squandered, how can we, block those leakages?
Okay, you see, the civil service is a system that has been in existence ever since. The minister is just newly appointed in the ministry to man the entire ministry where she resides. Civil servants spend not less than 35 years in their service before they retire, or if you wish to voluntarily resign, or if you reach the age of 65 years, then you go by age. Civil servant, I can't say they are corrupt, because it's a system entirely. Not only one individual can perfect corruption.
But it's often said that, I mean, if there are too many leakages, no matter who you put there, there is also that...
that is what I'm saying. One person cannot perpetuate a crime of corruption.
It's a chain.
It's a chain. It goes from this office to a particular office before it goes to the finance for payment. So this system have to be streamlined in a way that there wouldn't be any loophole whatsoever. I think the technological advancement we are now has given us some of this approval can be done at your desktop by the approving officer via the internet banking and what have you. So before finally fund can be disbursed using this technological advancement, at least there are some stringent measures has to be followed. So what I'm saying in essence is, forget about what has happened. What has happened has already happened. We have a system. The way at best we can manage this system is to effectively put systematic way of technological advancement to go away with this fraud and what have you. This is just my opinion.
Do we have enough that synergy when it comes to anti-graft fight between the ICPC? There are several anti-corrupt corruption agencies in Nigeria.
Yes,
but there's also been that complaint that there's no synergy, and so it also sometimes stalls this fight and prosecution. So do you think we have that, and how can we achieve it? Should you respond that we do not?
Yes, I think recently the EFCC chairman together with the ICPC have met in collaboration with other agencies to see how at best they can work in harmony. So I think this is the best step at this juncture to see that there is no friction whatsoever in discharging their duties.
Right.
Insofar as their function is almost the same thing, but since they have this synergy, if I'm not mistaken, the present ICPC chairman, Musa Aliyu, SAN, comes from Jigawa, if I'm not mistaken, and he was then the Commissioner for Justice. You know, he has revived that sector to a certain extent that his performance have yielded him this position. So what I'm thinking is, with the caliber of people who would have human affairs of EFCC and ICPC, will have this managerial, will have harmony in their teamwork. There wouldn't be any friction whatsoever. Like now, the president has already directed the EFCC boss to investigate this matter. So you see, there isn't any friction. Instead, ICPC will collaborate with EFCC to see how at best this minister can be investigated and possibly taken to court.
Right. Now, with what's going on with Betaidu, Dr. Betaidu, we have Ajia Umar Farouk and Ajia Shehu of NSIP. Do you think it's going to serve as a deterrence for other ministries who might want to go overboard?
Yes, it will serve as a deterrence, so to say. You see, we have Hadiza Bala Usman, the coordinating minister for all the ministries. She supervises the function of every minister. She informed the president on a quarterly basis, if I'm not mistaken, the performance of a ministry. So I think this particular action will be a pointer to all the ministries and ministers, so that if there are anything that is that they are doing or they are going to do or they are thinking of doing, then this is a bus stop for them.
Right.
Yes, this is a bus stop for them. They have to really work according to what the president wants in achieving his developmental agendas for Nigerians.
And so for those who think the president is just doing this to satisfy the masses, I mean, the agitation for the masses, what's your thought on it? Is this truly what he would do, or it's just so that, you know, Nigerians keep just shut up already?
Not at all. You see, she has performed wonderfully well during his campaigns. He knows her very well. She's only but 37 of age. She's among the youth by age, by level. I think he has much confidence and assurance that she will deliver for Nigerians. That is why he gave her that sensitive position, Minister of Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation, something like that. So for Nigerians to be thinking that this is something the president does to satisfy, no, not at all. I think she even disgraced Mr. President by that allegation of fund that comes that she's been investigated for appropriation. I think the president will not be feeling happy at this juncture after spending like 6 months in his cabinet for these allegations to be coming up. He will be worried about this, because for any person to give you an office, come and manage this office, it shows that there is trust. There is that not even public trust, there is that personal trust shouldered on you. So I think what I will advise the minister is to if at all these allegations are proven to be realistic, let her seek for forgiveness of Nigerians and Mr. President.
Would you still want her to maybe come back as minister? Should she seek this forgiveness? Because I'm not sure what to think of it. I'm hearing I stand with Better I Do campaigns all over the place, and I'm wondering why, if you think some even think it's a personal attack, and I'm wondering if you think it's not a personal attack, if you think it's indeed she's not she has no blemish whatsoever, why don't you let her go and be probed? And another question would be, you know, Wale Dun, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy,
Yes.
is also going to head that probe.
Yeah.
And Nigerians are saying, these two worked so closely during the elections. Do you think this probe would be transparent? But there's several skepticism around and pessimist narratives around all of this. Do you think the government will win with this, whatever the outcome may be?
I think at this juncture, we won't insinuate the outcome of the report. Whoever is heading the investigatory aspect, we shouldn't say that this is what we'll be thinking of that report. Let the report comes out first. I think we have a newly appointed EFCC boss, which I think this is one of the most first sensitive allegation that is shouldered in his office. So I think he will do justice to this matter for Nigerians to see. For Nigerians to say, yes, this is the EFCC boss we want to have in Nigeria. Yeah.
Dembo, what's going on with that ministry? That ministry is just 5 years old. That's the Ministry of Humanitarian. It used to be Ministry of Humanitarian and Disaster and Social Development. Now the Ministry of Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation. In spite of the name change, it seems riddled with so much scandal. What should the president do to ensure transparency moving forward?
I think for the time being, since we have a permanent secretary that is heading the affairs, what Mr. President should do is, this is the most sensitive ministry for Nigerians, because it is meant for the less privileged, the vulnerable, and the masses, so to say. At this juncture, we have allegations. It's just only 5 years of existence of this ministry. I think we haven't gotten it right from the onset of the ministry, because there's allegation levied against the former minister or the former head of that particular ministry. What Mr. President should do is, when he's appointing people to head that ministry, they should be people of good repute, good reputation, high caliber, of good standing. If I should also advise, he should seek the opinion of the emirs, because the emirs deal with the masses. They have direct link to the people. They know the vulnerables. They know the masses. They know the less privileged. So in appointing a minister of that nature, he should consult with our first-class emirs of the two places.
Traditional rulers across Nigeria.
Thank you. So let him liaise with them, because the ministry is invariably meant for the masses. I think the constitution has not streamlinedly give opportunities for emirs in our respective whether north or south to give some of their input. So I think this is an opportunity, whether constitutionally to be amended or as an advice to the Mr. President, this particular ministry, let the emirs take advantage. Let them be sought at the point of appointing the minister, because it directly boils down to the masses.
Exactly.
The former boss, there's allegation. Presently, after 6 months, there's another allegation.
It's quite unfortunate.
It's quite unfortunate.
And especially because the poverty that should be alleviated, we're still seeing more poor people into that thin line. You know. But thank you so much, Barrister Nasir Dembo, social commentator, for giving us your insight into what you think is going on, especially when you talk about Tinubu's administration and the anti-graft war. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A pleasure.
Right. This is where we draw the curtains on Joy ASONYE Live. Rest assured, we'll be back tomorrow with so much more, but have a restful evening.